you ever wondered how learners and the teachers transfigure the modes of learning from face-to-face learning to online learning? Do you want to know what is more beneficial between these two? So today, we will going to learn more about face-to-face and online learning, their differences and as well as their similarities.
In face-to-face classes, learning is done with physical interaction. This is where the teacher and students meet at the set place, which is the classroom, and the set time, which is the class. The interaction between the teacher and the students in face-to-face classes is more interactive. During face-to-face classes, the teacher is free to move around. It is an effective way of utilizing the space in the classroom. Moving around while teaching or discussing is often viewed as open, friendly, approachable, and helpful. This also helps to call out students' attention and interest to focus on the discussion, as unnecessary movements and noises are easier to be noticed, especially those students who are at the back, avoiding boring lectures. Face-to-face classes is more on lecture and classroom-based exercises. The biggest opportunity it presents is the ability to discuss, collaborate, practice, and role-play with guidance from the facilitator on hand. Being part of a group and being held accountable are powerful learning tools. Classroom-based exercises encourages students to be more involved and be active members of class. The following examples of effective classroom activities are Think, Pair, Share, Scrabble, puzzles, icebreakers, debate, role-play, and many more. Since the students are physically located at the same time and the same place, and every class is done in a limited amount of time, so the responses and feedback must be formulated quickly. Students' questions and clarifications are answered in a real time, which means you don't have to wait for the lecturer to go back to you, and it goes the same thing with the feedback on the exams and assignments, no long waiting periods. According to actors Delfino and Persico, face-to-face classes appear to be less convenient but a lot easier. Face-to-face promotes easier learning through hands-on instructions, allowing students to get better understanding by asking questions. Face-to-face learning grants more organization.
Next one is, there are less distractions during a face-to-face class because the learning takes place inside a classroom, so the students can focus their attention to the teacher or their activities. Unlike an online class, the students and sometimes the teachers are just in their home where there are a lot of distractions that may happen anytime, like your parents calling you in the middle of a class, a family member suddenly entering the room, or even a sound of roosters is enough to distract you. This is why students can focus and learn more during a face-to-face class and can gain more meaningful knowledge when instructions are delivered in real-life classes. Then a face-to-face class is less flexible. So flexible learning is the availability and accessibility of education when traditional modes of learning is not possible, which is, for example, the global pandemic that forces traditional learning to stop for the meantime and convert to flexible learning. There are three modes of flexible learning. First is the online, which is basically the use of technology and the internet in the delivery of instruction. Then we have the offline mode, which does not use the internet to access education, for example, the use of printed modules in learning. The last mode is the blended, which is the combination of the online and offline learning. Because of these modes, learning is still possible during circumstances that will make education to temporarily stop, which is what we are experiencing today. We can't have a face-to-face learning as of now because of the pandemic. And also, because face-to-face learning have a set place and a fixed time, and you have to be there to personally attend the class, you cannot access face-to-face learning in your own demand. You cannot take an exam set at 7 a.m. at any time of the day you want, which is possible in an online class. However, in face-to-face class, you can access more information and reach your understanding through teacher and other students' body language, and voice because of real-life interaction. You can have a first-hand experience of what is happening in real time. This makes learning in face-to-face classes more meaningful because you will really see what the teacher or your classmate is demonstrating, and you can share information as clearly as possible as well. Face-to-face interaction provides opportunity to connect with other people, collaborate and solve problems together, and establish a network with other students from a wide range of backgrounds. You will know other people personally and work with them as a team, and you can really learn different knowledge from these diverse groups of people because of face-to-face interactions.
My task is to discuss some facts about online classes. First is, online classes only requires us virtual interaction, which comes with its advantages and disadvantages. With the current situation that we are facing during the pandemic, which requires us to stay at home and avoid physical interaction with other people in order to be safe from the virus, virtual interactions still allows us to connect with other people, especially in the class, while avoiding being contaminated with the virus. But being humans, having physically interactive nature, virtual interaction does not satisfy us with the interactions that we were used to. Next is access to learning materials such as lectures, modules, and recorded sessions are now more easier for students to access and store since it can be found and can be posted on different online platforms. Next is, there are various ways of implementing learning and assessing students' performance through the use of different online platforms and softwares that can be used and experimented creatively by the teachers and the students. Next is, for some people, online classes is actually a cheaper alternative. Me, for example, now that we are in an online mode of learning, I only spend about half of my allowance during the face-to-face classes since now I only have to spend for my monthly internet bill and for some personal spendings. Next is, online classes is actually less time consuming. During the face-to-face classes, we need to sit in the classroom for 1 hour for each subject. But now in the online class, a certain subject does not usually use all the allotted time for their subject, so students have more time to do other things other than attending classes and makes our time more flexible and productive.
Good thing about online learning is that this type of learning is very flexible. Flexible in a way that teachers can conduct their classes outside their classrooms and outside their homes or whenever they are. And also students can review materials and can come to school or attend their classes whenever they are and at any time that they are available. Next is that this is adaptable to people's preferences. Students and instructors can present their ideas in a creative way using different applications that is available out there and in a way that is very interesting and interactive. However, this type of learning has its disadvantages, and one is that this is hard to follow if you have no self-discipline. Because as a student myself, I find it difficult to focus on learning online, especially that I am in an environment that is not really capable or suitable for online learning. Since I have a lot of distractors inside and outside the house, I am not able to concentrate well on my classes and it affects my learning obviously. And next is that cheating is prominent. We all know that internet sources are accessible to students and we all know that students nowadays can't resist the temptation of having to cheat, especially when they have exams that were not discussed by the professors or their teachers. And it is sad that we came to a reality like we have to cheat for us to pass and we tend to cheat for us to survive. And lastly, this online learning results to isolation. There are some students out there who are really afraid of being close to others, or some are feeling that they do not belong in the class. They tend to isolate themselves, and they tend not to open up with other people. They just close their doors to their classmates, and of course they do not tend to share their ideas to others. And this is the saddest part of this kind of learning, because we are not just mentally disturbed, but we are emotionally disturbed. We get social anxiety because of the fact that we do not have physical interaction anymore with our classmates and with our peers, and it really affects our learning.
At this moment, we will going to learn more about the 8 similarities between face-to-face learning and online learning. So here are the 8 similarities between face-to-face and online learning. So first is we have they're both beneficial to learners. Number 2, various strategies of teaching. Number 3, it requires a great amount of work. And then we have fourth, standard-based curriculum. Number 5, teachers monitor and assess. Number 6, communication is critical. Number 7 is feedbacks are important. And last is we have regular, purposeful, and authentic assessment.
That's the end of our discussion about face-to-face versus online classes. Keep safe and thank you for watching.